Welcome to Podcast 360, powered by the Podcast Academy. In 3 questions, answered in 60 seconds each, you'll experience a 360-degree view of podcasting and the people who are building out the industry. Company founders will take turns sitting in the seat of both guest and host, creating a chain of podcast knowledge and perspective. These conversations are going to get down to business quickly. Each host will ask their guest 3 questions, and they will have 60 seconds to answer each one. You'll hear the timer counting down their final 15 seconds. At the end, the guest will choose a topic to revisit and dig into a little deeper. Let's meet our experts. Today's host is...
Hi, Will Malanti, founder and CEO of At Will Media. If you'd like to know more about me, you can head back to last week's episode where I was interviewed by Shira Atkins of Wonder Media Network.
And who's in the hot seat as today's guest?
Hi, my name is Jenna Weiss-Berman. Currently, I am the Executive Vice President of Podcasts at Odyssey. For that, I started a company called Pineapple Street Media that sold to Odyssey in 2019. And I've been making podcasts for way too long, honestly.
Before we dig in, we ask our guests to lay out 2 truths and a lie. Our host will guess which is the lie. We'll find out the answer together at the end of the conversation. But our host will have an opportunity to change their answer based on what they learn from our guest. Or they can stick with their first intuition.
All right, Jenna, thank you for being my interview subject. It is amazing to have you. So to get right into it, we start every episode of Podcast 360 with a round of 2 truths and a lie, everyone's favorite game. So this is your time to provide us with 3 facts about yourself. I'll guess which one's the lie. And at the end of the conversation, we're going to find out which one is. You ready?
Sure. Here we go. 1, both my parents are therapists. 2, I have a tattoo on my arm of Barbra Streisand. 3, my favorite podcast is This American Life.
Okay, so first of all, I just don't think you would say the lie. My favorite podcast is This American Life.
I'm not going to have any...
But I'm also...
While you do this, no expression on my face.
Yeah, I know. But also, like, I don't know. There's so many podcasts. I'm like, is that actually your favorite podcast? Just kind of feels like a throwaway a little bit. Okay, tattoo of Barbra Streisand. I've seen that, I believe. I've seen that? I'm like thinking of someone else. So a lot of people have that. So you're not like the only one. I'm just joking. No one has that. Besides you have it. Okay. So I think your lie is my favorite podcast is This American Life.
You're sure that this is your answer?
All right. Yeah, I am.
Well, you're giving us a lot of...
She keeps raising her eyebrow. All right, let's keep this train moving. So now that we have your facts, we're going to ask you 3 questions to learn about you and your podcast career. You're going to have 60 seconds to answer each. And after that, you get to pick one of the subjects that we touched on, and we'll go a little bit deeper on it. You ready?
Yeah.
Here we go. The first question is, what is the best and what is the hardest part about being a founder, in your opinion?
Well, the best part is that you can kind of drive the ship and make cool content decisions, which has been fun. And you can also decide how you want to manage people and run a company, which is great. The hardest part is that everything feels super personal and emotional because you're basically creating a company in your image. And I'm actually super happy in my new job where I've moved out of Pineapple and into our parent company, Odyssey, because I think I can do a super good job there, and it's not my company and it doesn't feel emotional. And if I really want things to work out, but if if I don't get a certain project I want, or if I'm just like unhappy with something happening, I'm sort of like, it's not my company. I'm going to move on to the next possible deal. the end.
Must be nice.
Someday, man. It's so nice. It's so nice.
Yeah, I was like, wow, that feels really...
Oh, I was so ready.
Really good.
I was so ready.
Okay, question number 2 is, what is your... This is like a very like business question, sorry, in advance. But what is your stance on consolidation in the podcast industry?
Oh, God. My stance on consolidation. I mean, I think that consolidation has been good and bad. I do find that a lot of interesting shows have gotten much more funding than they would have gotten like maybe, 8 years ago. And so it's nice when kind of large tech companies and interesting other companies come in and want to fund podcasts. But yeah, there's certainly less kind of diversity in types of content than there was a few years ago. And I think that people don't necessarily know how to monetize or market podcasts outside of being a part of like a large consolidated network. So I think we have a lot of work to do going forward to help indies and better incorporate them into the kind of corporate structure that we're in at the moment.
All right. Question number 3, what advice would you give to folks looking to start a podcast production company in Q3 of 2023?
It's true that it is a sort of tough time in the podcast industry. It's also an exciting time in the podcast industry. And I think that the most important thing people can do when starting a company is lean into the thing that they do best and the thing that they're most passionate about. So if you are an amazing producer, don't try to start a podcast sales company. If you are, a great podcast seller and you want to start a content company, bring in really good content people. Don't try to do it yourself. So lean into the thing that you know how to do and work with the people that you've worked with in the past. So if you've ever worked with, a Spotify in the past or, an Apple or an Amazon, go to those places first. Tell them you're starting this thing. See what they have for you, and take it from there. When we started Pineapple, we went to a bunch of people we knew wanted podcasts made, and those were the people we started with, and it worked out.
Yeah. The fun fact about Jenna and I's relationship is that we kind of both started our companies around the same time, and she had been in the game for a while, and so kind of she acted as like a mentor to me and actually gave me my first paying job, like in terms of like
that was your first paying.
Yeah, like, well, it was like our first, like, no, we were making like small like ad sales, but like you were the one to say like, hey, like there's even a thing which is like people hire you or brands hire you, you can make money from it. And I was like, what? I was like, how? And you were like, I actually have one that we can't do anymore, here it is. And like it was like Entertainment Weekly, and it was like it actually changed like the game for me, because then I was like, wow, this type of revenue generation exists.
You were like, wow, I don't have to I don't have to just lose money, I can make money in this business.
Yeah, exactly. It was a crazy concept for me, but also something that I will forever be indebted to you for.
That's sweet. Well, you did end up bootstrapping your company, right?
Yeah.
So did I.
That's what you guys did too.
Yeah, that's
I know. And so
unique.
When I saw you do it, when I saw you like doing it for real in those first couple of years, especially, I was like, oh, I can do this. You gave me the kind of like the foundation for like what it could be, and I kind of followed your lead.
That's so nice. And you did it. I've always just felt like in this industry, like it's a real like all ships rise industry. We don't have to be competitive with each other. We can truly help each other. And we should. Like I try to be on the boards of a bunch of new companies, and like I do like at least 2 phone calls a week with people who either like want to start a company or want to get into this industry. And it's just the more the merrier. Even in hard times, I feel like there's so much production work, especially that people need help with. Like there's a lot going on, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know if we want to get into like the podcast industry right now, but I feel like it's actually a really exciting time. Should we talk about that?
Yeah, I'd love to, actually.
Podcast 360 will be right back after a quick break and a word from our sponsors. And now, back to Podcast 360.
I'd love to talk about the podcast industry right now and why you think it's an exciting time. I think you can also, just because I think this podcast is surrounded by founders or is based on founders, through the lens of being a founder, kind of like, what is exciting to you right now in podcasting, and how is that good and how is that hard for a founder?
It's an exciting time in the podcast industry because instead of just taking money, we have to make money. And what I mean by that is that venture capital is not being just thrown at this, and tech companies aren't just making dumb, ridiculous deals that they'll never see a return on. I'm talking about, certain companies that made huge deals with like massive celebrities that, that didn't totally work out, or places that made, minimum guarantee ad deals that they could never come close to meeting and that could never actually be good for their companies. So I think a lot of places were trying to do these big splashy deals and weren't thinking much about the return on investment, and it didn't necessarily work out super well. And I'm very motivated by the fact that we now have to make money in this industry, because I think if we can make that happen and if we can show that it's possible, which we are doing, there are plenty of profitable podcast companies and plenty of not profitable podcast companies that can get there. But the more that we can show that it's possible to make money in this space, the more that we can prove that it is a sustainable, long-term, viable industry. And that kind of helps everyone. That helps producers, that helps people on the business side, that helps hosts. It's good for everyone. So I'm psyched about that. And actually, Will, I feel like you and I, like, we have a good leg up in this, and so do other places that didn't necessarily take a bunch of money. Founders who didn't take a bunch of money, because we've been trying to be profitable for 7 years at Pineapple, and you guys have been trying to be profitable for, how long have you been around? 5 years, 6 years?
6 years, yeah.
Yeah. So we know how much money you can make on ads. We know how much money you can make on, on doing like production for hire jobs, how much money you can make with like a brand versus an original that you sell to a platform. So I think we have a good leg up, and I'm super motivated by like trying to make this not just like a slightly profitable thing, but like a very profitable thing that can pay people well, and so that people want to keep getting into this industry and continue to make cool stories.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. The one thing I'll say is like trying to be profitable is really hard. It's like a consistent grind to try to make that work. It's not just like this company's profitable, so they'll always be profitable. It's like one of those things that you have to really like try to maintain. And at the end of the day, like, because there are companies like ours that can prove that it's possible, then yeah, I think it like allows for other people to be like, okay, like this isn't a dying business. This isn't just like a losing kind of industry to get into because I read some bad headline. There's a way to actually create sustainable business, and there's a way to your point, match up to any other business in media in terms of what we're paying staff and how we're kind of, treating the people and that are supporting us. And I think that's totally right. Like, there's nothing that I want more than to just kind of create a business that can be sustainable and that can make sure that others feel like they're a part of something that is healthy and supportive of them.
Totally.
So I think you're spot on.
Yeah, I've moved into this thing where I was doing it at Pineapple, and now I'm doing it on this much larger scale where I think I have to bring in at my new job, which is like head of all the podcasts at Odyssey, which includes Pineapple, Cadence 13, 2400, which is our sports network, like local podcasts across the country, because Odyssey is a huge radio company with stations and podcasts all across the country. I'm managing now, I'm basically trying to bring in 15 times the revenue I was at Pineapple. And so it's like a new challenge of trying to figure out what is the balance, what should the balance be of of like network shows. So shows that we do ad sales and marketing on versus owned and operated versus production for hire versus branded, you know, versus how much should come in through ads and how much should come in through payments for production. It's like a whole kind of crazy juggling act, I guess. And I'm finding it like super fun. It's like a fun challenge to figure out like, okay, what mix do we need here to make this super successful? And I feel like we're like kind of much more quickly than I thought, heading in a really good direction at a time when I think, you know, it's not the best ad market out there. But if you do smart, good deals that work for everyone, it can really be something that's good for like every partner involved, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's also like, I think I know that you and I both feel this way, but like you can still make kind of creative deals in podcasting. Like there's no one way to do business.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Yeah. It's like you can make deals that make everyone happy. You can share, you know, you can share a lot of derivatives with hosts if you want, you know, you can do co-ownership of shows. There are so many kind of levers to pull depending on what people want to get out of something on the business side. And I actually, like, I come from a production background, so it was sort of, you know, people are like, is it sad to move into like a business role and not like be on the creative side? And I'm still on the creative side a bit, and I get to choose, you know, the stuff that we're going to do. But I actually find business to be so creative too, because it's like, you know, it's a different kind of like challenging puzzle, and it's almost a different kind of storytelling. Like you can make everyone happy, you can make everyone tell a good story about their experience because they, you know, they leave a situation feeling like, you know, the business side of things was fair for everyone.
Wow, you've been in corporate America for far too long.
Oh my God, do I sound full of shit?
No, that was really...
But I feel this way. Like I do, it's genuine. I feel fucking psyched.
But you've always been good in business. You've always been kind of creative with that. And you've always like been very generous as well. That's one thing about you that I think will always trump any kind, like going into any business deal. The person who's more willing to kind of part with something is going to make the deal feel better for everyone. And that's something I think you do well.
Thank you. I feel like a lot of business deals, it's easy to make both sides happy if you're doing it right. I don't know. Like it doesn't have to be that, like, you know, a corporate entity is fucking over the little guy. It's like,
totally.
There's a lot that you can give to the little guy. And I was the little guy for a while, and, you know, realized it's like, yeah, it doesn't have to be that like we're taking, you know, like full ownership and all the money and whatever. It's like, you can be generous and still like do well if you're making smart deals.
Yeah.
In this, you know, so blah, blah, blah.
No, I appreciate that. Not everyone thinks like that. So I think it's, you know, it's really nice to hear you kind of talk about it like that. Okay. There's one thing left to do. I'm going to make my final guess and your two truths and a lie. Try to identify which of the three is a lie. So... Here we go. I'm actually, okay, I'm like I'm not seeing the Barbra Streisand tattoo. I'm just not remembering that. And I'm like, wait, I know I've seen you in like short sleeve shirt, but you do have a tattoo. I'm just like, is it Barbra Streisand? That's what's really making me crazy. It has to be that or This American Life. This American Life just feels like, yeah, maybe that it has been your like favorite forever. I'm going to go with Barbra Streisand. Final answer.
You're wrong.
You do have it, right?
Yeah, I do have a Barbra.
You too.
I do have a huge Barbra Streisand.
Okay, yeah, I've seen that. I just haven't seen it in a long time because I haven't seen you in a long time. Damn it.
I know. I don't know if I've seen it. It's like on the very top of my arm. But
you kind of have to like, I have to see you in like a cutoff shirt for that to really happen. I don't remember the last time I saw you in a tank top.
Next time I'm with you, I'll wear a tank top. I do want to say I love This American Life. It's been a huge inspiration to me. But my very favorite podcast is Who Weekly, which is a podcast about minor celebrities and is the funniest show in the world.
Yes, I remember that being your favorite podcast. I remember that one time I was the person that they talked about on that podcast, and you texted to me and you're like, what is going on? Why are you the subject of Who Weekly? And I was like, I don't even know what Who Weekly is.
Yeah. Will was a subject of Who Weekly.
All right.
I won't get into
very minor celebrities. They went with a very, very minor celebrity that week. But all right, Jenna, it's been a great conversation. Thank you for sharing your time. Thank you for sharing your thoughts, being with us on Podcast 360. To our listeners, if you've enjoyed listening to Jenna, you can find her sitting in the host chair next week on the episode where they'll be turning around the mic on another founder. Jenna, can you let your listeners know where to find you, your company, your projects, any other shout outs?
Oh,
please.
We have a website, pineapple.fm. That's the company I founded. And you can email me anytime at jenna@pineapple.fm. If you have questions about starting a company, about getting into this industry, I'm happy to answer them.
You just opened the floodgates. You're a better person than I am. I hope that you get just completely bombed with emails into your inbox. Okay. Thank you again for being my guest. Thanks to Podcast 360 and the team for having me. Don't forget to check out last week's episode where Shira Atkins interviewed me, and look out for Jenna next week.
Thank you for listening to Podcast 360, where you experience a 360-degree view of podcasting. Special thanks to the Podcast Academy and DCP Entertainment. Follow us on social media at The Ambies and at DCP Official on Instagram. And subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode.